Alrighty, Commissioner, you are live. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Shira. Good afternoon, Douglas County. This is Mr. Kelly Robinson from the 2nd District. I am Chair of the Finance Committee, and welcome to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. This is May 16th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. We do apologize for our delay. On behalf of me and the Vice Chair, Ann Jones Guider from the 4th District. We just came out of an executive session based on a long working session. So we're off by about 15 minutes, but we'll try to be sensitive to everybody's time. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into this agenda because we do have some presentations, some other matters that we have to get to on behalf of the public. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and hit the roll call as we normally do, and we'll get into our normal itinerary or agenda. So again, my name is Kelly Robinson. I am present as Chairman of the Finance Committee.
I'm Ann Jones Guider, Vice Chair, District 4.
Good afternoon. I'm Rosalind.
Go right ahead, Rosalind.
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have jumped in front of you. So.
No, you shouldn't have. Go right ahead, Rosalind.
Rosalind Miller, Finance.
Frederick Terry, Deputy County Administrator.
Stephanie Stewart Stanley, Assistant County Administrator.
All right, I think we have a 5-0, all present and accounted for on this committee. Just as a pause, do we think it's necessary to add any more members to our committee structure, such as procurement officer or anybody else, or do we just let it stay as is and bring them in from time to time? Do we think this is sufficient? Madam Guider, any thoughts?
I'm satisfied with where it is. We can bring them in as needed. So.
All right. So since she and I are on the same page, I know how that works.
Yeah.
That's all we got to. That's it. So leave it alone. 5-0. That's what it's going to be. We'll continue with the 5-member voting members. I know we have other people that are here, like David Good. David, are you out there?
Yes, Vice Chair. I'm here.
Right, David. We have people that support us either through community or vendors, etc., that are here to provide additional tactical information from time to time. So, David, thank you for being here and being part of this committee as a non-voting member. That being said, Director Miller, let's just get on to our agenda. I think the first order of business should be our meeting minutes from last meeting.
That is correct, sir. It is the minutes from the March 14th, 2022 meeting.
All right, can I get the motion? Everybody has read the meeting minutes from March 14th, 2022. Can I get a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right. So we've got a motion from Commissioner Ann Jones Guider from the 4th District, and we've got a second from Deputy County Administrator Fred Perry. Any discussion? If none, let's just go around the room so we have guests so they understand how we do things when it comes to voting. I'll start with myself, Kelly Robinson. Yes.
Ann Jones Guider, yes.
Frederick Terry, yes.
Stephanie Stewart Stanley, yes.
Rosalind Miller, yes.
Great. We have a 5-0 unanimous adoption of the March 14th, 2022 meeting minutes. Director Miller, let's get on into the fullness of our day-to-day in this committee. We'll keep it as tight as we can be, but at the same point, be thorough. I yield back to you now. Bring forth the first item.
Perfect. The first item is a discussion on the benefits of the county developing its solar independence. Mr. Jenkins, he's an independent energy consultant and advisor. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You now have the floor, and you have to stay within your time frame, but you have the floor, and as long as you allow time for the committee members to ask questions at the end.
Okay, so I think we've got 15 minutes for presentation, and then we'll get straight to Q&A. So let me first say thank you again to the Finance Committee and those who are present for this opportunity to give a brief overview of the solar market and share some benefits of solar. Solar allows you will allow the county the opportunity to own your power instead of renting your power. Solar energy is produced from a direct current from the sun. The panels capture that energy and as a direct current, and an inverter converts that energy to active current, which allows you to power your buildings and facilities in your space. By generating, next slide, please. By generating your own electricity from the solar, next one, there we are. By generating your own electricity from solar power, municipalities can reduce their monthly electric bill, and that means serious cost savings. Powering schools, libraries, municipal office buildings, and maintenance centers requires a lot of energy. For the typical local government, energy expenditures are the second largest budget item. So saving money on electricity can significantly cut your operating expenses. Go ahead, next slide, Carlos. There's a concept, why go solar? That's why go solar. There's a concept called net metering. Net metering allows solar owners, including municipality governments, to receive full credit for every unit of electricity produced by their panels. That means that their electric bill will go down with every bit of solar electricity they produce. Next slide, Ross. In extra sunny months, when solar electricity production outpaces total electricity consumption, solar owners will earn credits they can apply to future monthly electric bills. Whether a municipality installs solar on a single building or on an entire fleet, the reduction in their monthly electric bills will translate into savings that can be applied somewhere else. Going solar can benefit municipalities in a plethora of ways. How can solar save you money? That's what it comes down to. The cost savings. Solar is now cheaper than buying power from the grid in most places across the country. Solar can significantly reduce the cost or the amount you pay to the utility company. Solar cost has fallen significantly, more than 60% since 2010, and are expected to drop another 35% this year in 2022. As solar costs fall, electricity costs are on the rise. Installing solar allows municipalities to reduce their costly electric bills by producing their own electricity. Those savings can be reinvested into other areas that the county feels needed. The solar footprint, job creation. The solar industry now employs more than 250,000 people. The solar industry employs twice as many people as the entire coal industry. As many Americans working in solar as in natural gas. Solar jobs are diverse, ranging from installation to manufacturing to sales. By installing solar on one or more buildings, municipalities can fuel solar job creation in their local community. You can leverage constituents about renewable energy systems during installation, growing the local customer base. Municipalities can boost local clean energy employment by opting to work with local contractors for installation. Next slide, please. Solar equals healthy environment. Solar is much more healthy for all of us. Solar sustainability commitments. Installing solar can help your municipality meet its sustainability goals by decreasing its consumption of fossil fuel powered electricity and offsetting its carbon emissions. Local economic development. Installing solar panels on one or more buildings can help municipalities jumpstart the local clean energy economy. Solar plus electricity equals savings. Utility and fuel costs are a major part of municipalities' budget. Going solar can significantly reduce these costs. A large percentage of the cost of operation is the fuel needed to operate the county vehicles. 2035, electric vehicles could make up 25% of new car sales. In February of this year, the U.S. Department of Transportation and Energy announced nearly $5 billion will be made available under the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure (NEVI) formula program established by President Biden in the bipartisan infrastructure law to build out a national electric vehicle charging network, an important step toward making electric vehicle charging accessible to all Americans. Solar and electric vehicles are not just the way of the future, but active in our present life. The beauty of owning your solar power is that you can power your vehicles using the energy produced from your own solar panel system, eliminating the cost of fuel to operate those vehicles. Power up and back up your power. As battery technology drops in price, many municipalities are considering solar plus storage to use during power outages. These projects are often designed to protect the most vulnerable citizens in a time of crisis. Battery backup prepares you for grid outages due to natural disasters. But it is better to have the power and not need it than to need the power and not have it. Solar power is smart power. Solar power empowers the county to reduce its dependency on the utility company, empowers and creates greater self-sufficiency through the production of your solar panel system and a battery backup system in the event of a power outage. Carpe momentum. What that means is seize the moment. Now is the time to seize the moment. Take control of the continuous increase in utility costs by owning your power instead of renting it. Douglas County Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to give this brief overview of the solar market and how you all might be able to benefit from it. And in the light of that, I've teamed together a group of solar industry leaders to aid the county in making this very critical decision about going solar.
Introduce your team.
Okay, with us today we have Jay Penfield. We also have Michael Kane, and I think we have Larry Knight on the line as well. They're solar industry experts that can. It's always said, align your people with those who are smarter than you, and then you'll do well. And so that's what we've done on this call today. So, hey, thank you for this opportunity, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you all, and please stand by for questions. Solar is, just for the record, for the broader public, solar is something that the county has looked at since I came in office in 2008. I don't know if is James Worthington on the line. If he's not, it's okay.
Yes, sir. I'm on.
All right, James. I knew you'd be back. All right, I couldn't have done this without you. All right, that makes me feel better. All right, so this is a topic that we talked about 2 or 3 times as a board, not as a committee, as a board, across a couple of ministries. And each time we get more enlightened. And I was just recently in Savannah, and you're talking to various people, and you come across things to sort of refresh your mind about certain topics. I know the county's always big on the spend. Well, let's forget to save. Right? Let's figure out a way to invest so we can save versus tax and spend. How about that as an answer? And so, Madam Guider, I wanted you to be part of this. I particularly in the committee as opposed to economic development. It shows that because it's really about it is about money. There is an upfront to our guests. There is an upfront cost. James, this time last year we had someone come out, but they were kind of scared. The board about this. The state is going to shut down this tax incentive program. And so what we like in Douglas County is relationships. Don't pimp us. Don't transact us. Help us understand what we're looking at. So this is the best audience to try to get very different perspectives, but yet probably a common goal. It says, okay, how can we do better? And is there a real opportunity? We know technology over time, the early adopters, pioneers, all those guys, eventually gets adopted. We get it. And we get that certain state geographically may be different than other states that have adopted it. All right, we get all that. Right? But here we are in Douglas County. So right now, James, I want you to weigh in, and then I'm going to yield to the rest of the committee to ask our guests some questions. But James, any other context, just background? Because
So-
Madam Guider hasn't been as involved, but I want her to have the same equal playing field as I do when we begin to ask questions.
Certainly. Thank you, Commissioner. Again, this is James Worthington. I'm Managing Director of Development and Planning for Douglas County. Basically, we have investigated solar opportunities for a number of years. I would say over a decade, we've looked at it every few years. And of course, 10 plus years ago, the price was just, it far exceeded anything we could do for a decent return on investment opportunity for the county. We weren't quite there with the last opportunity we had looked at. We have looked at a number of different business models, a number of different, sales owner opportunities, whether we own the equipment, someone else owns the equipment, a business owns the equipment, power company owns the equipment, different grants. So we've kind of been around. So I'm expecting either now or shortly in the future, I'm hoping now, that we're kind of over that threshold that it is a feasible opportunity. So one thing I'm going to be kind of interested in is what's the business model you're looking at? Is this something the county buys up front? Is this something we lease? Is this something you own and we just buy the power? What is the model that you guys will offer?
I'm happy to answer that if you like.
Yes, you can answer best the committee.
My name is Jay Penfield. I'm with Pink Energy. I've been here for 3.5 years. And we have, as stated earlier, Larry Knight is on the line also. Larry is my manager. Michael Kane, who's one of the residential managers of the company. One of the things we want to talk about when it comes to owning versus leasing, what I've seen across the country where the leasing is taking place, is they have our philosophy is for you to have the system owned by the company, by the county. But we do have one leasing program that we have Larry talk a little bit more about, called a TELP, tax exempt lease program, that we offer that does not have that escalator built in there, that allows you to be cash flow positive from pretty much day one. Larry, why don't you jump in?
Hi, everybody. Larry Knight here. I'm the manager of the commercial industrial division here at Pink Energy. And, perhaps you've, this has not been presented to you. Perhaps it has in the past. But there is, as Jay mentions, the tax exempt lease program. It is designed to take the money that you're already spending and divert it from the utility into your capital asset purchase, so that it becomes, it falls on the expense side. It's something that you don't have to capitalize up front, and so there are no upfront costs. There's nothing out of, you own it, okay? But, well, let me backtrack. The financing people will own it for the first 6 years, because what they're going to do is they're going to extend to you an exceptionally low interest rate, and to offset some of the tax credits that they're going to get, right? So as a public entity, you can't qualify for any of the tax credits, so that tax exempt lease is going to extend some of that to you. It is subject to annual appropriations. It's secured by the equipment, so there's no, it's non-constitutional debt. It generally only requires board approval because you're spending money that's already been approved, right? So you don't have to go out and get, issue bonds or anything like that, which certainly lowers the cost of the effort. And it is structured, to take advantage of the annual electricity savings. So that might be a slightly different structure than what you've heard about in the past, to address, we as a company will not, Pink Energy will not own the equipment. You will own the equipment after, I think it's about a 6-year period. That ownership falls onto you for, I think it's $1 or something. But the payment schedule, okay, is going to be amortized out over, generally over about a 12 to 15-year period, and it's designed to ratchet with annual increases in electricity costs. And I think that we can all agree You're seeing the cost of fuel going up, and that's going to translate to increased electricity costs as well. Worked great. I mean, there's there's no money out of pocket, but to Jay's point, that's gonna you're gonna end up not really saving too much money on that. You'll have solar, yes, but it's not going to be much of a saving. Okay. And then of course, there's also the option of going out and getting it put into a bond issue. But again, we don't, it's not necessary to do that because we do have a mechanism that we can work around that. So
the program we're talking about, the TELP, is designed exclusively for municipalities and schools. So it's something no major business go out and take advantage of. It's strictly for people like yourself, their government entity, municipality, or school systems.
So, Commissioner, can I ask another question?
Yeah, before he goes away from that, hold this thought. And James, give them context. So the Board of Commissioners, this will be considered maybe 2.0 or 3.0 of our energy savings effort. Maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, we worked with an ESCO. We had an RFQ came out, did an audit of our current energy efforts. And so the Board of Commissioners agreed in a 5-0 unanimous vote to replace all of our light bulbs and all of our plumbing and all of our major vertical assets, excluding the jail. So it's 33 buildings, 500,000 square feet worth of real estate that we set out to do this. I think we spent about $2.5 million upfront cash to acquire the assets, and then a schedule over about a year. And the savings was supposed to be realized over 15 years. So in other words, okay, you make this investment, you'll get it back. What you've been paying in normal fees or whatever your monthly bill, you'll net break even. Upfront cost $2.5 million, and then obviously we paid it off in a year, but yet to get that back, it takes 15 years. And okay, we're more efficient. And so we do have some experience, and I think that was important to say that we're not brand new, but it has to make sense. And so there's the physical assets, and how do they get maintained, and how do we keep up with this? Now we know there's certain municipalities that actually own their own utilities. They actually, the city, or they actually run everything, water, electricity, all that. We're not quite there. We separate everything by outsourcing either Greystone and Georgia Power or water, sewer authority. So this is somewhat new to us. And what you mean by capturing it and storing. So that's something that's a little bit different. That's getting us into, okay, I know what we'd be committing to. Please explain for us what you're suggesting. Because again, if you ask us to pick one, well, that's what you're here to help us think through.
Sure.
Right? Because again,
so
go ahead.
For sure. So essentially what we're talking about here is offsetting the consumption at your facilities, right? So in other words, the solar would generate the electricity that you would consume during the day, and then and we would build the system such that we would try to minimize any excess generation. Now, it's quite possible that there would be excess generation, and how we handle that depends on how the utility is going to handle that. In many states, in many utilities, there is a net metering component, also called a lot of it's changing now to distributed generation, in which any excess generation would be applied as a credit to your bill, right? Now, how that works for you and in any given situation, we can't say how that's going to work without looking at who your utility is, what your your billing is, and all that stuff. But essentially, the upshot is we're going to lower your consumption, and that in turn is going to lower the bill. And ideally, we lower it such that it's a net or net positive gain.
James, I'll give you one more question. I want to make sure I get to the committee members. I want to hear Madam Guider's perspective on this. So go ahead, James. One more question.
Well, one other thing that's kind of been a hiccup in the past is during a lot of these business models that are with consultants that are nationwide, it seems as though we have a lower base electrical cost than a lot of other areas in the country. And so a lot of these programs are set up based off of, say, 14, 15, 16 cents per kilowatt hour as a kind of a base pricing. And as a county, depends on which location you're at, but we're varying between about 5 cents per kilowatt hour up to about 11, with probably the average being 9, around 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So I know that makes the number crunching a little more difficult to make things feasible, but is that a surprise to you guys, or is that still something you think, hey, I think there's still room, we can make this work?
It's not a surprise by any stretch of the imagination, because you know, we understand, you know, the various markets, and we know that, you know, that the southern areas, many of the southern states, southern utilities are you know, lower rates, right? If you go to California or you know, Hawaii, they're going to be up to 25 to 35 cents a kilowatt hour. And yes, it's quite likely that you're at 5. You may be on a combined energy plus demand scenario, where you're paying demand rate plus a you know, plus a low energy rate, right? So each meter, as you mentioned, James, you know, it's going to vary, and you know, so we can't, you know, it's not a surprise to us that you know, your rates are going to be lower down there. Now, whether or not that's going to work for you, and that's why I mentioned earlier, we really can't tell until we analyze your situation.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Committee members want to stay on task, so we give you guys opportunity to weigh in, ask your questions. Again, this is just an introduction, an educational moment. We'll determine amongst ourselves how we would like to proceed to the next step with anything. But again, you got to get education before you can do anything. So, Madam Guider, Vice Chair, any thoughts?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're perfect. You're fine.
Well, first of all, where there's action, there's always a reaction too. I heard an ad on TV just this week that said, "Don't buy your solar panels because they'll be given to you by the government or by the electric company, whatever." So I'm sure there's going to be some grants coming down the road, hopefully for the government. But anyway, also I'm aware that lithium, which is used in electric cars, the batteries of electric cars, it is a very probable shortage coming up. Just like the chips they're made over in China, and we can't get vehicles. That's why used cars cost so much now. But the lithium is used just for the electric car batteries, and so that's something we have to depend on other governments or other nations for some of this stuff. Disposal of the panels when their life expectancy runs out, they fill up landfills. And look at what happened in Texas when they went overboard with jumping into it without a backup. You know, they had the outage during the ice storm. Was it last year or year before? So if we even consider anything, I would suggest a pilot program. Now, is there a hybrid program where if sun's not shining for several days and then or the power is off, there's a backup, a plan B backup?
So when it comes to
I used to have a hybrid Toyota, and it ran off of a battery when it was idling, and then it ran off gasoline when it wasn't. So that's what I'm talking about. Something that's a hybrid.
So we're not talking about taking anything off the grid, right? So when the sun's not shining, you'll still have access. You'll still be getting power from the grid. Right? All we're doing is supplementing. We're coming in parallel with the utility. To your point on lithium and that kind of thing, you know, that's kind of a broad stroke, but we're not talking about batteries here. talking about solar. So, and
Well, you
we
mentioned electric cars. That's why I said that.
I'm sorry, mentioned what?
You mentioned in your presentation electric cars, and that's why I said that.
Okay, yeah, well,
Because the electric cars have the batteries that require the lithium. So.
yeah, well, those are all, that's kind of high level stuff, but well, just so we can stay focused on this meeting, we're just talking about the solar, and to your point about a backup, you'll still have the utility company to rely on.
But I would suggest if we move forward at all, that we start with non-critical buildings or structures, and see how it works. Just see how it really works before we go gung ho and do every building out here, government building out here, into a solar. And I'm sure from your presentation, it seemed like other governments have done that, as they mentioned the libraries and certain buildings, government buildings, maybe the fleet building. But, and what about the disposal of the panels when their life runs out?
Well, that's about
They
30
feel
years, 30 years down the road at least. The warranty is generally 25 to 30 years, and that industry is already well underway. So,
Well, I've
Well,
heard
they have
that it does fill up a landfill, just like the wind towers do.
yeah, they're recycling a large portion of the panels now.
I'd like to have Larry talk about a municipality that he has finished this last year up in northern Michigan to discuss the different things, starting one building at a time, and also having EV chargers on your various facilities as well. Larry can speak to that. We just took care of that up north with one of his clients. Larry, why don't you talk about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to take the,
Yeah, I want to be careful with our time.
right, yeah, we're kind of tight on time, right.
Yeah. All right, so let me Madam Guider, again, this is important for you guys to send, Ann Jones Guider, who's the Commissioner for the District, has, one of her 40 years of experience. And, she controls the western part of the county, which is rural, on the urban side, the east. Her voice matters to me in this moment, so if she's not off track, I need her to speak. I need to hear her heart, because it's her last rodeo with us this year. So I need to hear what her mind is, so I can make sure that, okay, now how are we gonna do this? We're gonna do buildings, we're gonna do farms, we're gonna do what? So please, all, freedom of speech, please allow. I want to make sure that this meeting, this part of the beginning was for her, for me to hear from her. So, Madam Guider, we got to stay on task as relates to the timing, but I want to make sure sufficiently. I heard you about the pilot. I heard you like, yeah, don't put it on everything. Anything else that's in your spirit right now that you hear that we could benefit from? Would you be open to farms out there in District 4? Yeah, there's grants, there's agriculture, and you put it out there with the cows. I don't know, but I'm looking for you to weigh in, especially as you get to this comprehensive land use. Weigh in and let me know what you think right now, please.
Well, personally, Douglas cows. That's not what God made the pastures for.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. I know that the electric companies, they pay people to have a farm, a solar farm, and everything. And what other people do with their property is not necessarily for me to say. In a case like that, if it's profitable for them, but it's not my wish that we have a bunch of solar panels rather than the beautiful rolling pastures that we have out here. We have horse farms out here, so.
No, thank you for that. No, that was
On top
important.
of buildings is a different issue. On top of existing buildings.
Okay.
Thank
You know
you.
it. Right. I just wanted to make sure I kept the record. That's where you were. James, don't we have a solar farm off of Highway somewhere off at Anawaki? And they're about.
Yes, sir. Turnip Seed owns a solar farm. It's about a 30-acre farm off of Anawaki. It's actually right near where the proposed library is going, if you're familiar with the library.
Yes. And what are they doing? So who owns that and how does it work?
That one is privately owned, and so they're just basically a sales back to the grid. So it's Turnip Seed Creek is the LLC that owns it, and basically they're just selling right to the grid. They're just providing power in this area, I guess you could say.
So then the question comes to, we become our own utility. And we're going to close this topic out because there'll be more conversation. This is supposed to be educational, which is, okay, to Madam Guider's point, all right, we do a pilot. You know, we don't have the largest footprint as raised vertical buildings, but okay, there may be some benefits. But is there a broader play, authority, water sewer authority? Is it something that, what about residents and commercial? Do we partner with somebody? So that's the business model thinking that we need somebody to help us think through. Yeah, take a look at our data. I have no problem, James, give them some data and take a look at it when they start building stuff. Because again, we need to see something a little bit more than just the great storyline. But I think, but what are you really saying? And we're like, okay, if we're gonna do this, let's do this right. Give us a couple of options. If you're just doing our buildings, if you do, you know, we got into the utility business, what does that look like? And how do we harness it? Because if I'm only harnessing a bucket and I can harness a stadium, then, I mean, and it's the same cost, and I just didn't build a big enough holder of whatever it is, the energy, then, but we don't know what we're looking at right now. So right now, it's like, we're intelligent. This is beyond us. It takes specialists like you guys to come in. So I have to keep this going though. So I'm going to, just for a minute, gentlemen, my other committee members, you guys got the topics, Roslyn, Deputy, Madam ACA, and then we'll let them get the closing comments to us, and we got to keep moving. Is there anything else you guys want to ask a question about?
None, Vice Chair. I think for me, all of the questions have been posed, as well as the information from the PowerPoint. So I will reserve any comments from now.
Great. So you got the takeaway that we'll let them go get some data. So yep. we're saying let James provide them with the data they need. Let them come back with a pilot or a broader, well, a pilot, a full asset, and then some other third version, which is we're holding it for a bigger group of people. I don't know, schools, whomever. Let them solve the problem. I mean, that's what we were bringing in for. Those three things, and we'll go from there. So thank you, sir. Madam ACA, you okay?
Yes, Commissioner Robinson, thank you. I don't have any questions. I just like to say, you know, working with Keep Douglas County Beautiful, we love recycling. So we like to see you recycle the sun. That's a great thing. And of course, this is also in line with our strategic plan, our objective to promote a clean, beautiful, and sustainable community. So thank you.
Is there any infrastructure dollars that would tie into this? I know we talked about water. Did we talk about solar? Did you come across anything in the Treasury Services, you know, things that can be used for money? I'm just curious.
Yeah, there are some options in the IJJ regarding resilience. And so I'm going to look resilience and sustainability. I'll look through and I will prepare a report with that information.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Well, committee, I'm going to go ahead and suspend comments at this point just so we can stay on task because I know it's a long day. Gentlemen, do you guys have any closing comments for us by giving your attention at this moment?
Well, I will say thank you again to the commission for the opportunity to present solar, and we look forward to coming up with a plan that works in your best interest and does the things that you need in order to become more sustainable and less reliable on the grid. Open it up for anyone else who has any additional comments.
I'd like to say thank you to all of you for allowing us to come in and talk with you today. And Brennan will work through you to take care of everything moving forward. And God bless everyone here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're directly with Managing Director James Worthington, and he'll get you all cleaned up and stuff for maybe a broader, more formal presentation to the full Board of Commissioners, which will be the next step. So this was just an entree. I say administrative concurrence, move forward, because this is going to take the full board, and I want their collective thoughts on this. So, Madam Guy, if you have no objections, just let them go forward and come back when they're ready when they get through James. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let it be done. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your presentation, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Director Miller. Thanks, James. Director Miller, let's keep going.
Okay. The next is the ARPA revenue and expenditure summary.
All right. Is that going to be you or?
So, yes, it will be me. you, this is American Rescue Act, Program Act. And as you are aware that Douglas County received, in 2021 of August, received $14.2 million. As of date, 6.2 has been either encumbered or actually spent.
How much?
6.2, $6,240,401.25. You have the incentive program for the vaccination for employees at 170,000. The incentive vaccinations for the citizens was 21,000. We had the pay incentives for the county employees, the 1,000 full-time, 500 part-time at 1.5 million. Then you have the pay incentives for public safety, the 10%, non-public safety 5% at 3.9. You have CSB providing health and substance services and also rent forgiveness at 283,000. There was a rent forgiveness at 3,496. We have technology for community relations at 10,800, and technology for the DA's office for 53,800. And then there are outstanding POs, encumbrances for all projects, and it's about 123,000, which totals the total expenditures at $6.2 million. Remaining balance is 7.9, and this is the first allocation from the federal government. The next allocation comes 12 months after the amount after the first amount that was received, which was in August. So the second will be the second 14.2 million will be August of this year.
We have a couple more months.
Yes.
And so 6.2 out of 14.2, what is that about? 40, how much percentage of that money was to burn?
It's almost, well, a little less than 50%.
Yeah, it's about 40 something.
Yeah.
All right, that's sufficient. And again, we're going to continue to have this as part of our ongoing monthly reporting. We've got to keep up with this over the next couple of years. So every month we need to have. I'll let you and staff, you guys work out how you present to the finance committee. We just want to keep a page of this burn rate. And sometimes you look at it and don't look at it. We just want to have it somewhere so that it's always in front of our mind. Anything else you want to share on that?
No, I will just incorporate it in the actual finance report. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. 17, 18. All right, so no, that was sufficient. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. I just wanted to put it in the record. We've talked about it a lot as a board. We make reference to it, and we're drawing down off this tree. And I just want to make sure we're keeping up with it from an oversight, especially from a finance perspective. So, with that being said, thank you, Director Miller. Vice Chair, Madam Dyder from the 4th District, what are your thoughts on what you're looking at? And this is not an alarm. It's just for us to have the numbers in front of us.
Put it back. There we go. Just a couple of questions. The pay incentive 1,000/500. What was that? Is that?
That was the hazard. That was a hazard pay.
Oh, okay. And that was over and above the CARES hazard pay.
That is correct.
This was just to cover safety, right?
No, this covered all county employees, full-time and part-time.
they got, wait a minute, I don't remember everybody getting hazard pay. What was that?
Yeah, I don't think everybody got the hazard pay, Roz. I think it was primarily for public safety and for other departments that were dealing with the public, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was every employee, to my understanding. They defined it, ARPA defines hazard pay. It's not in a sense of what we're used to, but it's stating that if, the employee was actually working and dealing with, just coming to work.
Yeah, that was the $1,000 and $500 payments that we received last year that went out to employees.
Gotcha. Again, that mixed up with something else.
Yeah, that was the pay incentive that all
Gotcha.
the employees got that were working during that time of COVID.
Yep.
Okay,
I remember that.
And what is One Rocky Ridge? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
That is a apartment complex, I do believe, that a citizen to avoid eviction, and that is part of your ARPA budget.
That citizens, what now? Say,
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Goddard, that was so we have in the ARPA funding, there was funding set aside for community stability to help citizens who with eviction and who's losing their homes and utilities. We did have one citizen who had a situation that we looked at and deemed that we needed to intervene and help. So that's where you see the $3,496.92. We will be coming forward with the proposal for for people to apply as well, but that was just a one-time allotment that was made out of the funding.
Was that just one apartment complex?
Yes, apartment. That was only like 2 months. Our rents have gone up substantially.
Okay, I don't remember anything being said about that.
All right.
Go ahead.
No, you bring up a good point. This is our whole point. We appropriate. We pass resolutions to appropriate a certain amount of funding according to certain categories or buckets. Now, unless we put conditions and stuff, once we sort of blessed it, in this case, we actually blessed sort of a list with some relative framework. It wasn't as broad as our SPLOS, but nonetheless, we use that as the spirit of it. Right, everything we won't see, right? Everything we won't see because we've already given the authority. And so, unless you have but you've got to accomplish this initiative. If we say, okay, we're going to $5 million for telecommunications, well, what's in that list? Like, what's below that? So, you bring up a good point, and that's why I did what I did. Like, okay, guys, we got to get some visibility in this. Okay, well, how is the money being spent? Not that we're questioning it, but we are looking to say, okay, so let me just keep up with what's going on. Because things do move. You know how you and I, things are on the list and we move stuff around. Can you imagine staff that has, we blessed it already. And so unless you've got it tied to something specifically, they do have discretion based on a long list of things that need to get done. And that's just my point. I think we did a good job of framing it. But at the same point, we just need to keep up with the detail because at any given day, the feds can come do what? Knock on our door and ask us to provide for the detail, which is the next point of my topic, which is we can't get this until next month when we get that what we call that federal grant administrator and get that technology in place that allows us to keep up with this. Roslyn is doing a good job for us to try to reconcile this list, and Madam A said we appreciate that. But we just want to make sure we have a single view of everything. And that's I'm always about. Like, put everything on the table, guys. Look at all the different buckets. Your checking accounts, your saving account, your 401k account. I want to see everything at one time. I want to see how the cash is flowing. I want to see how this money is being spent. They also have a fiduciary responsibility and got a trust to say, okay, guys, when we hired you, you took an oath. We hired you. And so you got to make us look good and make sure that we're on top of things and that we know what's going on. So this is more about visibility and transparency. Madam Guider, I was not after anything. So I don't have to belabor this. I mean, if you got more questions about what you're looking at, please weigh in.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity as One Rocky Ridge. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just target one complex. I'm sure there's other people that needed help in their rental expenses and everything where they got behind. So I just want to make sure it's being offered to everyone in need.
Equitable. So, Madam ACA, can you speak to how you engage the public in awareness, please? So, for the public and for Madam Goddard, please.
Yes. So, Madam Goddard, thank you, Vice Chair. So, as you know, as you recall, over the past year, I think the Board of Commissioners has allocated probably over $500,000 to citizens in rent, mortgage, and utility forgiveness who've been impacted by COVID. And we also have more funding that's been set aside. And I hopefully will be bringing that to the Board of Commissioners in either the next meeting or meeting after that for approval, so we can go ahead and open the application process back up. This, like I said, that one incident was some disabled citizens who had some different issues, and we looked at the situation, and on the administrative side, made the decision to go ahead and help those citizens. But it will be open to all citizens coming very shortly, as it has been in the past. We've opened it up, and like I said, over $500,000 have been given out to citizens who had need on the community stability side. And then you'll also see here that over $283,000 has been given to the CSB for rent forgiveness for behavioral health. So it has been open, but I can speak to you offline about that one particular situation.
Please do, because I can see CSB because that helps a lot of people. It doesn't just help one or two people, it helps a whole bunch of people. So, anyway, we can talk offline. Thank you.
All right.
That's
well,
questions.
You got it, no problem. All right, guys, if there's nothing else in this, Director Miller, you have the list. I know that there's also a SPLOS list. I know David Good is obviously keeping up with. I know you guys will want to ultimately come back to the full board with a complete capital improvement plan. So I won't roast that now. I'll wait till you guys come back with a full list. So we're going to clean this up right here, make sure it's aligned. So remember everything: general fund, SPLOS, ARP, single view of everything. So by the time we have this conversation in June, I'm thinking it's probably the second meeting in June. Give you guys about 30 days to pull these together and make sure we got a pretty clean look. I've been talking about a year. So I'm gonna give you all 30 more days to get that single view. All right. If there's nothing else on this topic, let's go to our next item. Director Miller, let's keep moving. Let's get on out of this meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, our next item is the financial reports for the month of April. So the county's revenue has increased when you compare it with last year, and we'll go into detail. It has increased 5.3 million. Some of the changes that makes up the 5.3, we have the taxes, and we have the ATV key tax at 225,000 increase compared to 2021, and then laws 854,000 comparing to last year. Also, when we get into the details of the report, you'll see other financing sources. This is under the revenue portion. You will see the $3.9 million transfer in from ARPA, and this is for the pay increases, for the 10% public safety and the 5% non, and also the living wage initiative. Also, for the SPLOS revenue has continued to increase. As David mentioned in your meeting this morning about April's collections, And when comparing to 2021, it's an increase about 19%. With the expenditures, we're only the four months in, but the county is trending under budget about 2.75%. What you see before you is our four major funds. You see general funds, unincorporated, fire services, and animal control. What this report shows is at the end, you see the unassigned amount for general fund of $14.9 million. That's after all the obligations, the outstanding POs, and any other items that are restricted. It states how much is unassigned. That means it's unrestricted and you can use it for operations of the county government. But also, as I mentioned, we're only 4 months in, and for the county government, the majority of the revenue comes from your taxes, and your property tax does not come in until the end of the year. So that's why you see a negative year. However, there is enough cash for cash flow to handle that negative and handle until we receive the property taxes. And that also goes with your uninked too. Uninked, you will receive the insurance premium, fire premium tax, and that's usually comes towards the end of the year, so that's why you're showing a negative there. And fire and animal control, they have monthly revenue coming in on a monthly basis, and not have to wait until the end of the year, because that's where the SDS agreements come in play, and they're due each month. So the next is revenue, and as I mentioned, revenue increased by $5.3 million, $5.3 million, and as I mentioned, some of the areas was the taxes, and also the biggest portion of the 3.9 is right here. Last year we didn't have a transfer of ARPA. This year we do, of the 3.9. So that is a big chunk of the variance between 2021 and 2022's revenue. But so far, the county has collected 17.79% of the revenue, of the total revenue, for the total 104. The next is your expenditures. If you look, this is 2021, this is 2022, the same time period. We're looking at the same time period, and they're very close. Again, 2022 is trending well, and as I mentioned, under budget by 2.75. The next is the unincorporated, and if you take a look at their revenue, 2022's revenue is greater than last year. Some of the increases, it is building. One of the biggest is building and permits, and also plan review. So far, Inc. has collected 17.51% of 11.3 million. Expenditures are really close from last year, so trending is going as expected. So far, Inc. is under budget by 3.27. The next is a fire protection. Revenue, you see, compared to 2021's revenue, really close. So far, fire has collected 33.82% of their $17 million budget. They're under budget and it's down from last year. They're under budget by 4.21%. The next is animal control. Animal control's revenue is up slightly. They've collected 35.82% of their budget. Expenditures are over 2021's budget, or 2021's actual. However, they're under budget by 7.90.
What's our target percentage?
The target percentage at this time for April, it should be 33.33%. So they're under by 7.90 of the 33.33%. The next is the contingency. This is the total amount spent. The budget started out at 396,000 minus the 62,000 which has been spent in contingency. The remaining balance is $333,000. However, there's outstanding encumbrances of 284,000, which gives a remaining balance of 49,000.
Spending that too fast.
Yeah.
No 3/4.
Yeah.
I'm shaking my hand, my God. I agree. Keep going, keep going. Keep going, Ron.
Okay. The next is our SPLOST, and as David mentioned, is PayGo. And we did have some pretty big transactions. I believe it was the fire truck, a lot in fire. So David, the number went down. I think the number I provided was last month. However, the month of April, there was a lot of activity of checks cut. And then also of debt service too. And the next, as I mentioned, comparing 2021 with 2022 loss, you can see the increases for the last 3 months of the collection. So far, when comparing it with 2021, it's up $854,000 loss. And when you compare SPLOST with last year, for the last 3 collections, you see the increase in SPLOST is up 1.2. The next is the healthcare fund. The expenditures are under the target of the 33.33%. So far, expenses for the month of April, for the year to date of April, is at 28%. And fund balance, still not going into using fund balance right now, we've added for year to date 695,000 to the healthcare fund, and that could be lags of appointments. Usually they come in. It takes about 30 days, 30 to 60 days. But right now,
What's the fund in this?
the fund balance currently is 3.9 million.
That's that last bottom down there. Net position end of year.
Yes, it's
That's second from the last column.
that is correct.
Yeah, I was looking for fund balance.
Yeah, it's when on enterprise funds they call it net position because it's kind of it's handled like a business, kind of like a business, so they call it net position.
Okay.
And that's all I have for the reporting for April, the month of April. Is there any questions?
Very good report. It's important that we go on a monthly basis and obviously have the conversation in front of the public regarding it. Madam Guide, or anything else you got for me? Not to belabor the meeting, but of course, you got questions on anything?
Yeah. This one, Rosamond, you done trending to see what each line item spending.
Yes, for the expenditures.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Anything?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Anything over 10%?
Oh,
10
no.
to 20% is what we look for as far as being, okay, y'all really are either over budget by 10% or some other number below. So,
Oh, no. No, you have good directors and elected officials. No one that, especially only 4 months in. No one, yeah, nobody over that much. Yeah.
Madam Guide?
All right. I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Director Miller, is there anything else after this topic?
No, sir, that is all that I have.
Got it. Deputy, sir, anything you want to talk about during this finance committee?
Not at the moment, Vice Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Madam ACA, any topics?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just administratively, I know it will come back. As you guys know, the University of West Georgia is involved, so she brought up the ARP, the business continuity or business stability component, and I think they're going to come back with an oversight request, and we're probably just going to have to finalize that. And likewise, all of this should be part of what the federal money, how we keep up, how we're spending that. So, Madam ACA, we will reconcile that, right? As we begin to, just like with community stability, we will have a list of how the money is spent on that literacy program.
That is correct. And we have to report it all to the federal government as well. So we will make sure to get those reporting and have the list available for you, the commission, at any time.
Yep, I knew it was. I just had to say it on record. All right. Then if there's nothing else that needs to come before this finance committee, we'll reconvene after the meeting is adjourned next month. I don't know the date, but they will be published by our county clerk. So if nothing else needs to come before us, guys, thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.